Hey everyone, and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be looking at FNC Rekkles as he plays Tristana with Janna against Ashe and Tahm Kench. Early on in the game, before she's gotten levels, Tristana has a 75 range disadvantage to Ashe, which can make it really difficult to get last hits uncontested. That, along with Ashe's W poke, can make this lane pretty tricky. However, when you factor in supports, the poke becomes less of a problem due to Janna's shielding. Instead, the big thing that Rekkles is going to have to be careful about is the enemy's chase down and all-in potential. If Tahm can close the gap due to the slows from Ashe, then Janna is going to be an easy target for Tahm's Devour. With that said, there's still plenty that Rekkles can do in this lane. First, he'll try to establish a push advantage onto the wave with Janna shield and his E passive. Then, he'll want to get harass on Tahm whenever he steps up. Lastly, he'll always want to be trading when Janna has shield up, which is every 18 seconds at rank 1. As we hop into the game, Rekkles has to leash. This is unfortunate since we'd like to get a push advantage in lane, but sometimes leashing is unavoidable. Fortunately, as Rekkles gets to lane, it's clear that Ashe and Tahm had to leash as well. Here Rekkles gets an E and an auto off when Ashe was looking to hit the caster, and this was a small misplay by Ashe. Tahm also steps forward to try to get a Targon stack, and he gets hit as well. Overall, these first few seconds of the lane are going really well for Rekkles and Janna. While he does get tagged by Tahm Q here, more importantly Rekkles has cemented the push advantage with his caster lead. This is really important because now he'll have control over the lane with a level 2 advantage, which will nullify anything that Ashe and Tahm would want to do for the next couple of waves. As you can see, Ashe and Tahm can't contest the growing minion lead, and really can't contest the level disadvantage. As Janna tries to kill herself, Rekkles pushes in the wave and gets an E proc onto the turret. Ashe actually takes the E damage here, and Rekkles is even able to get an auto in as well. This lane is already looking really good. Once you get into positions like this, you want to make sure that you don't let up on the pressure. If this wasn't Tristana, there'd be an opportunity to zone Ashe and Tahm away from the wave, but unfortunately her E passive doesn't allow for that. Because of this, we always want to be pushing. Since we're always going to be pushing, we want to make sure that we have vision of the river maintained as often as possible. However, with Lee Sin fighting on topside, we don't have to worry about warding just yet, and can instead keep shoving into the enemy turret. This is the second time that Rekkles has been able to shuffle in and get his E and auto onto Ashe. As he kites backward to avoid the incoming minion waves, watch how Rekkles is able to use the visionless bush to get extra autos onto Ashe. While they end up placing a ward into the brush, the damage has already been done. As they push the wave in, Rekkles is now up a potion and around 250 health over Ashe. If he can get her to reset, this lane will start to snowball in his favor. Getting Ashe this low is step 1, and executing to make sure he gets an advantage off of her being low health is step 2. Many players lack the follow through needed to get an advantage, and then instead get frustrated that the enemy AD was so low and they weren't able to get anything out of it. As this wave hits the turret, Rekkles is getting into their faces and he's able to land more harass onto Ashe and Tahm, only to then rocket jump out. With Tristana, know that you always have rocket jump as a get out of jail free card. As he pushes in the next wave, it looks like this last bit of harass finally forced Ashe to back off and recall. However, she might be hiding by the turret, so Rekkles and Janna make sure to push the wave in all of the way. When you're in the same position as Rekkles, make sure that you're able to confirm the enemy AD has reset if possible. That way you won't get caught off guard by them being greedy. From out of fog, Lee Sin comes in to poke Rekkles and catch the wave, and unfortunately he burns Rekkles' heal. However, we know that Ashe is reset, and we're free to get a great back onto this incoming cannon wave. For those of you who don't know, backing on cannon waves is most optimal because even if the enemy duo lane tries to shove, your turret will prioritize and then take a lot longer to kill the cannon minion. Anyway, Rekkles is able to get his back off and buy 2 daggers to Ashe's boots. The daggers will give him more head-to-head strength, though Ashe's boots will allow her to weave in and out of range easier, which will make it easier to abuse Tristana's range disadvantage. Rekkles shoves in the wave and doesn't want to be overly aggressive just in case Lee Sin is still nearby. Note that he currently has a heal disadvantage, so our game plan of consistently shoving is even more important. When you're down heal or other summoners, if you can shove waves into your opponent, it'll make it really hard for them to capitalize on that disadvantage and engage a fight onto you. Tahm Kench teleports in here for some reason, but we aren't that worried since we have W up. Rekkles puts a lazy ward in the brush, and we'll always bring it up, don't be lazy like challenger players, and put vision deeper in the river or try to contest the tri-brush with your support. Anyway, as Janna gets back into lane, Rekkles continues to shove. Here we see Ashe finally start to abuse her range advantage in this matchup. As we play this out, really watch how she abuses Rekkles here. This is really good footwork. As we saw, she was able to sneak in an auto with a range advantage, run back out of Tristana's range with her fleet footwork movement speed burst, and then wait out the Janna shield before engaging the fight and destroying Tristana in this trade. As he jumps out, Rekkles is down a ton of health. With his heal disadvantage, he's going to have to be extra careful for the next minute while he regens with his Doran shield. When you're down this much health and pressure, we actually just recommend biting the bullet and recalling. If the enemy team plays it right, you're going to lose out on additional trades, gold, XP, and priority to any fights that happen on the bottom side of the map. Finally, we see Rekkles back off, which is a hard but important choice to make. Shout out to Janna for blocking Tom from cancelling the recall, which would have been really disastrous. As Rekkles gets back into the lane, he's now picked up Berserker Greaves to better combat Ashe's move speed and range advantage. Getting fast boots is also really recommended against Tahm Kench, so we're completely in favor of this buy. Anyway, they laned back and forth for a while, and it seems like Ashe and Tom have hit their stride to start trading confidently. However, none of these trades are that impactful since both parties opted into fleet footwork, Doran's shield, and level 2 boots. As long as things keep going this way without Ashe building too big of a CS lead, or getting a kill or turret kill, this will go positively for Rekkles on the Tristana because he's going to outscale. As this next wave gets pushed in by Ashe and Tom, Ashe hits 6, which is where things start to really get dangerous for Janna specifically. If they're able to hit Janna with an arrow, she'll go down for sure, and then Rekkles will be under a ton of pressure. There's a couple ways to defend against this, and what he could do is consistently stand in front of Janna, waiting for the Ashe arrow, and then buffer the stun from the arrow with his jump right as it hits him. However, that's really difficult to do, and instead we're going to be mostly relying on Janna staying back and well positioned. They continue trading and trading waves for another minute, before Ashe and Tom back up to set a play with Lee Sin. Remember that bit about dealing with Ashe arrow? Yeah, so he uses the interaction between Rocket Jump and Ashe arrow perfectly to buffer the stun and save Janna from either dying or burning her own flash. As Lee Sin comes in, Rekkles predicts the flash kick with a flash of his own, preventing the play from happening. On the side of our screen, we can also see Rengar coming in on the flank. The Rengar flank takes the focus off of Rekkles, which means that it's time to go forward and focus Lee. Lee goes down quickly, and Sion is there just in time to catch out Tom and Ashe, with Ashe just barely getting out. They're then able to drop the first turret and push in the next wave. And with bot turret dead and a BF Zeal power spike in his inventory, Rekkles can now think about where he wants to move on the map. However, the quote-unquote problem is that the other tier 1 turrets are already dead. If you were in Rekkles' position, where would you try to move on the map? As we look at the state of the map, there's a fight being lost in top river, both neutral objectives are up, and all 3 lanes are getting pushed. In a situation like this, there will naturally be a reaction from blue side as they win the top side fight, and we don't have many tells to figure out where it'll be yet. With that in consideration, the best move is to go mid, where we can react to anything that happens on the map. Sion will be able to charge bottom lane when he revives, so we don't have to immediately worry about going down there. Instead, the play is to set up more vision on top side and go for a neutral objective. In this case, Jace is the strongest member of Rekkles' team, and there is some existing vision in top river, so he decides to go for Herald with Janna. In this case, going for Herald is more important than the Air Dragon because they're trying to crack tier 2 turrets. With a 5,000 gold lead, they're up a ton of gold over blue side, but the game has accelerated unusually fast. In cases like this, on scaling AD carries, you want to be careful about overextending and throwing your advantage. While he doesn't have the most raw power at this point in the game, he does have the most pushing power. When you're putting pressure down as a team, you can help by consistently pushing the waves and putting down control and vision wards on the side of the lane that you're pushing. We see Rekkles back away from the fight in mid, and Lee Sin pops out with a ward and a Q. Most people would be pretty worried about a situation like this as AD carry. Rekkles on the Tristana, however, knows exactly what to do. As Lee Sin goes in to finish Rekkles off, he gets buster shotted backwards and ping-ponged around until he dies. This is the second time this game that the enemy team has tried to engage on Rekkles, and it hopelessly fails due to his perfect execution of Tristana's kit. Last time it led to bot turret and 2 kills, and this time it led to 1 kill and a top tier 2. As the tier 2 falls, Rekkles and his team are up over 6,000 gold at 14 minutes, and they go to close out the game right at 20. In this game, Rekkles played his signature safe and consistent style to a T. He shoved waves hard, and when his playstyle got countered by Ashe using her advantage, he played carefully and defensively at his turret. When level 6 came around, he was able to predict and protect Janna from an arrow by buffering the stun with his W. This then ended laning phase, and from there he consistently farmed mid waves so that he could quickly react to anything happening on the map. If he had a mid laner who couldn't side lane, he would have remained bot lane instead and farmed there. As another fight broke out in mid, he perfectly denied Lee Sin's engage with his ultimate. And while this win was overall a team effort, Rekkles helped enable his teammates to get huge leads by staying calm under pressure and using his kit perfectly. That's it for this one. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.